Okay, so this is a continuation of the discussion on the practice questions for international finance or international business and trade. We'll start with number 32. The question in number 32 is, which of the following is an example of an indirect exchange rate from an American perspective? Uh, so your exchange rates may be given in two ways, either as a direct quotation or as a direct rate or as an indirect rate. An indirect exchange rate, uh, especially from the perspective of the US dollar, is one wherein the US dollar is expressed in terms of its equivalent foreign currencies. So if we go over the choices here, we can say that letter D is really not a possible answer because in the first place it does not involve the US dollar. And then here letter B and letter C are essentially the same. It gives you the equivalent US dollar for one foreign currency. Okay, but that is not what an indirect exchange rate from the perspective of a US dollar. Uh, what we're looking for is the exchange rate that would give us the equivalent foreign currencies for one US dollar. And out of all the choices, the indirect exchange rate here is letter A. Okay, let's proceed to number 33. Which of the following is an example of a cross exchange rate from an American perspective? So, when we say cross exchange rate from an American perspective, it is what uh, one unit of foreign currency is expressed in terms of the equivalent of a different foreign currency. So, obviously, here uh, the the answer here would be letter D, since this is the only exchange rate that does not involve your US dollar, since we are looking at a cross exchange rate from the American perspective. So it should be an exchange rate that does not involve your US dollars. So the answer number 33 would be delta. 34. The State Bank of India has offered a spot rate quote on Indian rupees of 42.47 rupees for $1. The Indian rupee is quoted at a 30-day forward premium of 7.65% against the dollar. What is the 30-day forward quote? So if there's a premium of 7.65, and then uh, that premium is for a 30-day period, you can multiply the 7.65% by 30, uh, and then divide it by 360 to get the uh, equivalent uh, premium. And that should give you 0.006375. Okay, so basically, since it's a premium, you're looking for the rate that for a higher rate or higher conversion rate. So instead of 42.47, you multiply 42.47 uh, plus you multiply 42.47% by 100% plus the equivalent rate we've computed earlier of 0.006375. So you multiply 42.47 with 1.006375. That should give you the answer of uh, 42.7408. Okay, so basically what's happening here is that as of today, $1 will give you 42.47 rupees. Uh, since there's a premium of 7.65% against the dollar, uh, we expect that the exchange rate would be higher for the dollar after 30 days. That's why we will multiply it by 100% plus the equivalent rate. So again, the answer here is 42.7408. Number 35, Venkat Ram purchased a pair of brush shoes in Italy for 131.25 euros. If the spot exchange rate is 1.5621 dollars per euro, what is the equivalent cost of the shoes in American dollars? So the price is 131.25 euros, since the exchange rate here uh, gives us $1.5621 for every euro. So all you have to do is to simply multiply 131.25 euros with 1.5621. That will give you the equivalent price or cost in terms of dollars. So 131.25 times 1.5621, that will give you 205.03. So the answer here is alpha. Number 36. Which type of foreign exchange system allows for governments to intervene and influence exchange rates? The answer here is letter A, managed floating exchange rate. In a managed floating exchange rate system, uh, there's a combination of the features of the fixed and floating exchange rate system. In managed floating, uh, governments can intervene in markets when there's a need, but generally, market forces dictate the foreign currency exchange rates. 37. Which type of foreign exchange system determines exchange rate solely based on market supply and demand? So the answer here would be your floating exchange rate. Number 38. Which of the following is an example of a direct exchange rate from an American perspective? So if we're looking for direct, it's basically the dollars converted into one foreign currency. So which of the choices gives you a number of dollars, which is the equivalent of one foreign currency, and that would be letter B. So the answer number 38 is letter B. 39. Which of the following factors has the least influence on foreign currency exchange rates? Uh, Inflation rates is a big factor. Also, your interest rates, and of course, the ease of capital flow across countries or across borders. So the answer here, the best answer here is letter B, stock market activity. The stock market activity is not likely to have a major influence on your foreign currency exchange rates uh, because these are mostly domestic transactions. Uh, the dealings in your stock exchange does not have any impact as to the values of a currency in relation to another country's currency. Number 40, given that the spot rate is 106.74 and the 180-day forward quote is 100.37 per dollar, we can say which of the following. So basically, the spot rate is 106 for $1 and the forward quote is 100. So after 6 months, we expect the dollar to be equivalent to fewer yen. Today, $1 is equivalent to 106 yen. In 6 months, we expect that $1 will only be equivalent to 100 uh, 100 yen. So basically, uh, the yen would be at a discount. So we expect uh, the equivalent yen to be lower. Uh, so which of the choices tell us that one? The answer in number 40 would be letter B. The yen is at a forward discount against the US dollar. 41. The Bank of America quoted the 180-day forward rate on the Japanese yen at 0.009702. The spot rate was quoted at 0.009466. What is the forward premium or discount on the Japanese yen? So what happened here? We're looking for your Japanese yen. And what happened? Today, you would need 0.0097. And then, no, the 180-day forward rate is 0.0097. The spot rate or the current exchange rate is 0.009466. So more dollars would be needed in the future. So uh, just to get a yen. So currently, the dollar must be at a uh, the the Japanese yen is at a premium because it would be uh, its value will strengthen down the road, as evidenced by the uh, exchange rate. So the question now is whether it's 2.5 premium or just 5%. So to get the percentage of premium, you get the difference of between 0.009702 and 0.009466, and then you divide that with our base, and our base would obviously be the spot rate, and the spot rate is 0.009466. So the difference of between 0.09702 and 0.09466 will be divided by our base of 0.09466 would give us 2.5%, but the 2.5% is still good for the 180-day period lang. Its equivalent annual rate is 5%, or you can just multiply 2.5 by 360 divided by 180. So the answer here is 5% premium. 42, a company in country A and a company in country B. And this is similar to number 28. I will just give you an answer. The answer for number 42 uh, would be the product is more expensive today in country A than 1 week ago because country A's currency has weakened relative to country C's currency. The answer here is letter A. By the way, going back to number 41 and where was that? 41 and 34. Please take note of the difference. In 34, you're given with an indirect exchange rate, the number of rupees for $1. But in number 41, you're given with the number of dollars needed or the equivalent number of dollars for one foreign currency. So you might notice a reversal in the explanation. Okay, so 43, which of the following statements is correct? Uh, a currency swap is a contract where two companies exchange or swap different currencies. That's correct. But let's just go over the other choices. Uh, a currency futures contract gives the buyer the right but not the obligation uh, to buy or sell foreign currency predetermined uh, at a predetermined price. Letter C, a currency options contract obligates the buyer to buy or sell foreign currency at a predetermined price. Okay, and then letter D, speculators simultaneously purchase foreign currency in one market and sell it in another market at a slightly higher price. What makes letter D wrong is the term simultaneously. Uh, so the answer here is letter A. 44, a US company sells a product to an international customer for €1,000 to be paid 30 days from the sale date. On the sale date, the exchange rate is 1.25 per euro. The company enters a currency futures contract to sell €1 for 1.26 on the payment date. On the payment date, the exchange rate is 1.31 per €1. How much will the US company receive on the payment date? Who is the US company here? The US company sells a product, so it is the one selling. And what is it selling? A product a, for €1,000 to be paid. So the product is worth €1,000 to be paid 30 days from the sale date. Okay. And then on the sale date, the exchange rate is 1.25 per euro. The company enters into a currency futures contract to sell €1 for 1.26 on the payment date. On the payment date, the exchange rate, of course, what the US company would get would not be the 1.25 because it will not receive anything yet on the sale date. It would also not be the exchange rate of 1.31 because on this date you have already agreed, you already have the obligation. Okay, you must already, in this case, you must already sell. Okay, you must already sell the 1,000 euros that you would get. Okay, so what you would receive would be a foreign currency, and to manage the risk from the fluctuation in the exchange rate, you have already agreed to sell it at a predetermined price. So regardless of what is the exchange rate on the payment date, what you would get would be the equivalent of your 1,000 euros based on the agreed price of 1.26. So basically, what you need to do here is just to choose whether to use 1.25, 1.26, or 1.31. Okay, so the correct rate to use here is the 1.26. So the answer here is 1,260, which is letter B. Okay, number 45. In FASB AASC, accounting for derivatives and hedging activities, the FASB used the term underlying. Which of the following items is an example of an underlying? Uh, Examples of an underlying class include a specified interest rate, a security price, or whatever that might be the basis for the value of your financial instrument. Okay, and normally it would be something that is fluctuating. So out of the choices here, uh, one possible underlying that can be used would be your foreign exchange rate. Definitely not the number of currency units or the number of pounds. The answer here in number 45 is letter A. Number 46. What's the question here? How much would Kapona have saved or lost by hedging with a forward contract? What happened here? Has purchased equipment from a Korean firm for a total cost of 11,500,000 Korean won. The firm has to pay in 90 days. JP Morgan has given the firm a 90-day forward quote of 0.009791 per won to purchase Korean won forward, and 0.001022 won to sell Korean won forward. Capona decided to wait and purchase the Korean won on the spot market on settlement date. On the day the payment is due, Capona purchases the Korean won on the spot market at a rate of 0.001004. First, we can analyze whether this will result in a loss or saving. Uh, so, what Capona actually did was not to hedge. He did not enter into a forward contract. He just waited for the settlement date, and it was only on that day that the company purchased the needed Korean won to pay off its obligation. As a result, it needed 0.001004 dollars to pay to acquire one won, and it needed 11,500,000 won. So basically, the number of dollars it had to pay because it did not enter into a forward contract was 11,500,000 times 0.001004. That is equal to $11,546. That's what it actually paid. Had it entered into a forward contract, it would have only paid. So you're going to be purchasing man. So you will be using the 0.000971 and not the 0.001022. So the amount of dollars that you would have needed to acquire the 11,500,000 Korean won on the settlement date had you acquired the forward contract would only be 11,500,000 times 0.0009,791, which is equivalent to 11,260. So it entered into a forward contract, it would have only paid 11,260. But since it did not, it had to pay 11,546. So, to answer the question, how much would Capona have saved or lost by hedging with a forward contract? It would have saved 286, which is the difference between 11,546 and 11,260. Number 47. Uh, Baljit purchased machinery from a Japanese firm and will have to pay 278 million and 450,000 yen in 90 days. Baljit has three choices: wait 90 days and purchase the yen in the spot market on settlement date, enter into a forward contract with a rate of 105.46 for every dollar to buy the required yen on the settlement date, purchase the yen today on the spot market at a rate of 102.5. The risk-free rate is 6% in both Japan and the US. What is the cost today to Baljit of the forward contract price? So, uh, under the option 2, how much would you have uh, the cost of the forward contract is the first you divide the price of 278 million, uh, 278 450, you divide it by 105.46. That will give you the equivalent amount in dollars, which is 2,640,338. And then the question is, what is the cost today to Baljit? Okay, so since the equivalent is, how much was it? 278,450 divided by 105.46. That's 2,640,337.57. That's the amount that you would need. Okay, that's the amount that you will have to pay uh, on the settlement date. And then, uh, since the problem gives us the risk-free rate, uh, uh, it's like we're trying to get what is its equivalent value. Since we'll be paying the 2,640,000 90 days from now, we are going to work back how much then is its value, how much is the present value of this 2,640,000. So one way of doing that is by dividing 2,640,000 by 1 plus the 1 plus the effective interest rate. Okay, and since the risk-free rate given here is 6%, uh, the applicable uh, periodic periodic interest rate here is computed by multiplying the 6% by 90 and dividing it by 360. Okay, so it's the interest rate applicable for the 90-day period can be computed by multiplying the 6% by 90 over 360. So that would be the interest, the percentage amount of interest that will that is embedded already in the 2,640,000 that we will need to pay 90 days under the forward contract. So basically, the present value of the 2,640,000 is equal to 2,640,338 divided by 1 plus I, or in this case, 6% times 90 over 360. And the answer that you would get would be 2,601,318. The answer here is bravo. Number 48. Uh, Question here is, how much additional dollar revenue did Carrington gain or lose by waiting to sell the pesos on the spot market instead of selling forward the pesos? So what happened here is that Carrington sold equipment to a Mexican firm. Carrington will be paid in Mexican pesos in the amount of 41,275,000 in 30 days. The bank has given the firm a 30-day forward quote of 0.009,739 dollars for every Mexican peso. To purchase Mexican pesos forward, this will not be relevant because Carrington is the seller in this transaction. And 0.09322 peso to sell Mexican pesos forward. Carrington decided to wait 30 days to sell the pesos when the spot rate was 0.09596. So basically, on the transaction date, had it already agreed to sell it to the bank, it would have received uh, the equivalent dollar value of the 41,275 based on the exchange rate of 0.09322. But since it decided to wait, what it actually got is the equivalent dollar value of the 41,275 based on the 0.09596. So first, you can compute first how much then how much dollars then the company actually received. So you can do this by multiplying 41,275 by 0.9596. Okay, so 41,275 times 0.09596, that will give you 3,960,000 and $749. That's what the company actually got. Had it entered into a forward contract, it would have been able to convert the 41,275 using the 0.9322. Okay, but even before computing, what do we think is the scenario here? Under the forward contract, it is 0.09322, and then the actual spot rate was 0.09 uh, 596. So we actually got uh, uh, 1 peso would actually give you more dollars. So basically, the dollars has weakened when the when compared to the forward contract price determined as of the transaction date. So from this, we can say that we would have gained had we used a forward contract. Okay, but to simplify your analysis, just convert it all into dollars. So again, when we waited, we used the actual spot rate. The amount of dollars that we got was 3,960,749. If we entered in the forward contract, the amount that we would have gotten, regardless of how much the rate would actually be on the collection date, uh, you just multiply 41,275 by the agreed price. That would have been agreed price of 0.09322, and that is 3,000,000 847,000 uh, 3,847,656. Okay, so there's a difference of 113,093. So we would have actually gotten fewer amount of dollars had we entered into a forward contract than when we would then, instead of waiting. And considering that we waited, we actually gained 113,093. So the answer here is letter A. 49, the question here is uh, what amount should Yumi report as a foreign currency transaction loss? What happened here on September 22? Purchase merchandise from an affiliated foreign company for 10,000 units of the foreign company's local currency. On that date, the spot rate was 0.55. Yumi paid the bill in full on March 20, year 2, and the spot rate was 0.65. The spot rate was zero point 0.7 on December 31, year 1. So this is just more on accounting side for your reporting. What amount should Yumi report as? So this is as of year 1. So the March 20 year 2 rate would not yet be relevant. So all you have to compare here would be the spot rate on the transaction date and the spot rate on the reporting date. So the spot rate on the transaction date is the 0.55. So basically 10,000 times 0.55, your liability was 5,500. But since the spot rate on December 31, the reporting date is 0.7, you multiply 10,000 times 7, that's equivalent to 7,000. So basically, your liability increased from 5,500 to 7,000. So you will have a loss, an increase in liability will be considered as a loss. So you will have a loss of 1,500. The answer here is letter A. Number 50, what is its best option? I'll just give you the answer for number 50. Answer here is letter B, enter into the forward contract to purchase the yen. Number 51, Celio. We have a similar problem here. I'll just give you the answer. The answer is 1,954,453 or delta. 52, similar problem already to one we've discussed. Answer would be 24,686 savings, letter A. 53, I'll just give you the answer to 53 also. Answer would be 2,676,439. That's delta. 54, which of the following financial instruments is a contract that fixes a currency exchange rate at a future date? This would be your currency future. Answer is delta. 55, Celio. Answer is Bravo. 1,930,066. 56, the U.S. company wishes to manage its foreign exchange exposure, and therefore a U.S. company has accounts receivable from a Swiss company for 100,000 Swiss francs due in 3 months. At the time of contract exchange rate, wishes to manage its foreign exchange exposure. So does not want uncertainty. So you want that the francs that you would receive, you'd already know how much you would really get. So you should enter into a contract wherein you would be uh, uh, selling the Swiss francs in exchange for US dollars. So the answer here would be buy US dollar futures. 57, answer for number 57 is letter B, 118,417 loss. Number 58, which of the following is not a financial instrument used to reduce risk exposure associated with foreign exchange Rates. Uh, the answer here is simply letter C. Currency stock. And then 59. I'll give you the answer to 59. This is letter D. Enter into a currency options contract to sell euros for 1.22 in 30 days. Number 60. You should be able to analyze this already. Uh, Answer is letter C, 5,000. 61. Answer in 61 is letter B, enter into the forward contract. 62. Which of the following financial instruments is a contract that gives a firm the right but not the obligation to engage? So if it's just a right, so that just gives you an option. So the answer number 20 is, number 62 is Charlie. Uh, 63. Which of the following financial instruments is a contract whereby organizations assume the foreign exchange risk of another party? This is a swap. So answer for 60. 3 is letter B. Last number. Which of the following actions should the company take to best manage its currency risk? Answer here is uh, letter B. Enter into a currency futures contract to buy euros for 1.26 in 30 days. Okay, so please take note of the correct answers. Please develop your own understanding for these uh, problems, and make sure if questions come from these practice questions, you'll be able to correctly answer them in the exam.